Hello, I'm Audie Jake and welcome back to my channel. This is Autistic Reviews, the series in which I review media on the basis of how good it is representation-wise. Go, go, Power Rangers! That's right, today we'll be talking about the 2017 Power Rangers movie. In my opinion, this movie is one of the most underrated movies of the 2010s. It's one of my personal favorite movies, and I hope that by the end of this review you'll be able to see why. But before we start talking about it, I think it's important that I talk about my background with this movie. Originally, the movie was barely on my radar, up until just probably a few months before the movie released. When I was a kid, I was really into Power Rangers, but I fell out of it eventually, so I wasn't super into it, but I was planning on eventually seeing it. But then, months before the movie released, I learned a piece of information that would change everything. That Billy Cranston, aka the Blue Ranger, was going to be autistic in the movie. That caught my attention, and from that moment on, I was incredibly excited to see the movie. And when the movie released, I saw it in theaters, and it was incredible. Throughout the movie, I was actually bouncing from happiness. This was probably the first time I had seen an autistic character in a mainstream movie, and I was really happy because I could see myself in a character. I ended up loving the movie so much that it ended up becoming a special interest for about 2 years, and only really faded when it became obvious that I wasn't going to be receiving any new content for it. I loved the movie so much that I even owned the Funko Pops, as you can see. I absolutely love this movie, but I know it's not perfect, so I'm going to do my best to be critical of it. The first thing I'm going to want to do is point out what an amazing cast this movie has. We had R.J. Cyler as Billy Cranston, the Blue Ranger, Doc Ray Montgomery as Jason, the Red Ranger, Naomi Scott as Kimberly, the Pink Ranger, Becky G as Trini, the Yellow Ranger, Ludi Lin as Zack, the Black Ranger, Elizabeth Banks as Rita Repulsa, Bryan Cranston as Zordon, and Billy Hader as Alpha 5. I don't have to tell you how amazing these actors are, and they all live up to their reputation in this film. Now I'm going to go over a brief overview of the story without spoiling too much. The movie starts off by showing the confrontation between Rita and Zordon millions of years in the past, before transitioning into the modern day timeline. When we get to the modern day, we are introduced to Jason, who is pulling a prank on a rival school. Then the cops show up, so Jason flees in a car and ends up getting into a bad car accident that injures his leg. We cut forward 3 weeks and Jason is going to attend detention, where we get to see two of the other main characters, Kimberly and Billy. In detention, Billy is drawing, and he stops to rearrange his pencils when a bully walks up, breaks his pencils, and calls him a freak. Jason intervenes, and in a moment I really enjoy, he slaps the bully. After detention, Billy comes chasing after Jason and introduces himself to him and asks him for help getting somewhere, and says that if Jason helps him, then he can help to disable Jason's ankle bracelet. Later on, Jason shows up at Billy's house and Billy is able to disable his bracelet. So then Jason fulfills his promise and drives Billy to the gold mine. Then comes the most important scene, when Billy stops to tell Jason that he's autistic. The conversation goes, "I have to tell you something, I'm on the spectrum." "What's that, like a workout program?" "No, it's a diagnosis." "I know, it was a joke." "See, that's the thing, I didn't get the joke, my brain doesn't work the same as yours." Then we are introduced to the two other characters who are at the mine, Zack and Trini. Billy blasts a hole in the mine and they all discover the power coins, but have to flee when they almost get caught at the mine. While fleeing, they get into another car accident and are surprised when they all wake up unharmed and with superpowers. Confused about why they have superpowers now, they all decide to go back to the mines to investigate, where they discover Zordon's ship. Zordon awakens and explains to them that if Rita is able to find a Zero Crystal, that she'll use it to destroy all life on the planet. They all eventually decide to come back the next day, and what follows is a really cool training sequence where they learn how to fight and eventually how to morph into their armor. Of course, I have to mention the amazing campfire scene. The Rangers decide that the reason they can't morph is because they hardly know each other. In a really intense scene, we learn that Zach's mom is sick. Billy admits that he doesn't miss his dad as much since he started being with the other Rangers. And Trini talks about her sexuality and her difficulties with her parents. Zach says that he thinks being with the other Rangers is good for him, and he's right. They each find a family and people who understand in each other. Eventually, there is a final confrontation between Rita and the Rangers, in which the Rangers emerge victorious. Before I move on, I want to talk about the follow-up comic, Aftershock. Because this comic is probably the closest thing we're going to get to a continuation. The comic is about the Rangers fighting off the remainder of Rita's putty army. And two teenagers in the story find Godar's remains and basically become possessed by him, and they fight the Rangers. It also has a subplot about Jason feeling insecure in his leadership abilities. If you're looking for something along the lines of a worthy follow-up, this probably won't satisfy you. It was more along the lines of something to bridge the gap between this and the planned sequel. But since the sequel isn't happening, this is all we've got. But if you're desperate for more content in this Power Rangers universe, like I was, then it might be worth a look. Now, let's talk about positives. I love the little details of Billy's characterizations, like the internal wars he has about where to place his pencils. I love the way that Billy talks, the way in which he kind of rambles to get his point across. It really reminds me of the way I talk. I love how he just casually info-dumps about the things he's interested in, like how he goes on a long info-dump about the things he used to collect with his dad when he was alive, when he's disabling Jason's bracelet. I love the line when Kimberly asks Billy if he feels weird, how he responds, "You mean like weirder than usual, right?" I feel like that's something I would say. I've always been fond of the way that Billy latches on to Jason as something familiar whenever they get into an unknown situation. This seems very realistic. Honestly, the developing friendship between Billy and Jason throughout the movie was something I really liked. I also really love the way that Billy happy stems whenever he's happy or excited about something. He stems by clapping his hands like this. And I think it's very plausible that he has a script that he repeats whenever he introduces himself, because he starts to say the same thing that he told Jason to Zordon before Jason interrupts him. Also, this is from a deleted scene, but I really loved it, so I wanted to mention it. Billy says, "What am I going to tell my mom about the van?" And Jason responds, "It's crazy how someone stole the van." To which Billy says, "Jason, all 5 of us were in the van." "It's crazy how someone stole the van." Oh, okay. And the narrative never treats Billy or his autism as a negative thing. It's always treated as just part of who Billy is. He's never seen as being lesser than the other Rangers. Billy is just as important and capable of a member of the team as anyone else. As for negatives, there aren't really too many. This is mostly a nitpick, but I would have preferred it if they would have actually used the term autistic in the movie instead of just on the spectrum. And major spoiler warning, if you don't want to be spoiled, maybe skip ahead 20 seconds. But if the representation wasn't as good as it was, and if he wasn't immediately resurrected, then Billy's death scene would have been a deal breaker for me. Overall, Power Rangers 2017 is one of my favorite pieces of artistic representation, and one of my favorite movies in general. It's a movie that I've seen over and over again since it released. I cannot describe to you how happy this movie has made me. This was the first and so far only time I've ever seen an autistic superhero. Do you know how incredible that is? It's just such a shame that Hasbro decided not to go with a sequel and are rebooting it instead. If you're looking for good autism representation, or even just a fun superhero movie, then I can't recommend Power Rangers enough. I hope I've convinced at least one of you to give this movie a chance. Have you seen Power Rangers 2017, or are you planning on seeing it? What did you think of it? Did you agree or disagree with anything I said? Let me know in the comments down below. Until next time,